I'm Aaron Garcia. Welcome to episode 20 of Conversations with Aaron. Show I interview local artists, garner for recommendations from them, and highlight their works. Today's guest will be Danielle.
Hi.
Hey, what's up, dude? You doing all right?
Yeah, how are you?
Bro, I'm all right, dude. A little hungry, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Off camera, we were both talking like we didn't have breakfast.
We
so.
did not, yeah.
So yeah, well, I just kind of asked it, but I'll ask it again. I try to, make this the first question I ask all of my guests. How are you? How's life treating you?
Life is treating me pretty well, I'd say. Things are a lot different. Are we allowed to say that we recorded this the first time?
No, I totally didn't mess up the last episode. No, that was filmed like in May or June.
Okay, yeah.
Feel free.
Yeah, so we did record this previously in May, which is crazy because that was like, 4 months ago now?
Yeah, something like that.
And I hadn't graduated yet, and my life is completely different. And now we are in September, and I have a full-time job, and I don't live in Denton anymore. And school started now, and I'm not a part of it, and that's really weird.
Dang, bro. Well, first off, congratulations on graduating, and nice little grad photos.
Oh, yeah, those are me.
A little freshman year baby photo.
Oh my God, that's
so
me.
Cute. Well, cool, man. Well, we can actually talk about that for a little bit before we actually get into your career and whatnot. Just how's it been? Just sort of like it's fall and you're not in school. Because when did you start college, if I may ask?
I started fall of 2020, so COVID.
Damn.
I know, COVID. So it was crazy anyway going into college because everything was locked down, and UNT was one of the only schools that would let you live on campus. Even though the classes were all remote or online, but would still let you live on campus with roommates and suite mates. And so that's part of the reason why I chose UNT in the first place. But it was definitely weird going into college, and now it's definitely weird not being in college. I do miss it to a certain degree. However, I've kept contact with so many close people from college that I don't feel like I've lost it too much.
That's
and
good, yeah.
I'm only 3 months out of it, so it is weird just seeing everybody with their first day of school pictures and seeing younger students that I was friends with still going, and now they're seniors, and it makes me a little emotional. But other than that, I'm kind of happy to be out of it.
Okay, nice. So I imagine that's the thing you miss most, just sort of the friendships or whatever. Do you miss the sort of structure of classes and all that too, or were you kind of no, that's lame?
I miss the learning aspect of classes. Yes. Even though I do feel in my current job, I do feel I'm learning something every day, genuinely. But I do miss the ability to kind of learn whatever you want, spending a whole class just learning about horror films.
Yes.
Or just learning about audio, or just screenwriting. I do miss that, genuinely. I also just miss the ability to collaborate with others on whatever it is that we were working on. And I still collaborate and work on projects. It's just very different now. And yeah, I do miss it. I also just kind of mentored freshmen and sophomores for so long that I do kind of miss the aspect of seeing them grow and develop, and now I'm not there anymore and they're still there and they're their own person and they're growing into a real creator, and there's a lot of feelings there.
Dude, it sounds like it. That's great. And okay, well, we'll kind of wrap back around with school, but so tell me what you do now as far as your career.
Yeah, so I am a show site coordinator at Alfred Media Studios.
Show site coordinator.
I know. It's a mouthful. And what I do also feels like a mouthful as well.
Hey, go ahead. Let's break this down.
Let's break this down.
Top 6.
Because sometimes I don't even know all of the things that I'm doing all of the time. But essentially, Alfred Media is technically we're a staging company. But we kind of are a full service AV event technology company. So we have audio, video, lighting, media production as well in some capacity, and project managers. And so any kind of general session, corporate event, breakout rooms, some smaller exhibit, sections of exhibits, things like that, we bring in most of our own equipment or cross-rent some things that we don't have. Dang. We also hire freelancers that come in and also do all of the work. So basically, if you hire Alfred, you don't really need anybody else because we do it all. And so we're like a full load-in, load-out company, which is really great, but it's also really stressful
Yes.
because for us, we do over 200 shows a year. But for that one company, that might be their only show that year. So for them, this is like the most important day for them and for their company. For
you,
us,
just another Wednesday.
it's another Wednesday. And it's another Wednesday at 6 a.m. and the show starts at noon. And then you have to load out by 4. So my job, I kind of do a little bit of a lot of things. I help out with marketing, so with social media as well as marketing to clients. And other like cross rentals, other companies, etc. I also help out with just office support, so I'm definitely learning how to do a lot of that, which is new. And then I work on shows, mostly in graphics or some type of like AV engineer aspect. But I've also helped out just like as a PA or a facilitator.
Dang. First off, I mean, awesome plug, dude. You're cooking on that, like, no stutters at all. You're just like, bam, bam, bam.
Yay.
Sounds amazing, low-key, after the show, and be like, so freelancers.
Look up Alfred. Look up Alfred Media.
I will do. But, okay, well, of the many hats you wear, do you have, like, preferences? You know, do you kind of, like, gravitate towards one, or are you just sort of getting a feel for every aspect or, like, position?
I think I'm still definitely getting a feel for it.
I don't like any of these.
I don't even know what I'm doing. No, I honestly, part of my favorite part, which is very general to say, but is meeting the people. We have so many different people. We have like 60 staff total. And then we also have tons of freelancers. So if I'm working on a show, I'm usually, because I've only worked on 4 or 5 shows now at this point over the course of my time there, every show is basically I'm meeting a whole new group of people. And they're always cool and they're always willing to teach me what's going on if we have a second in between the chaos. And so primarily, like I said, I've been working in graphics, which is in the video side. So learning video, especially for corporate events, is very different than film or broadcast. It definitely has like pieces, like the structure is the same, but then the way that we use the equipment and the way that, you know, we interact with it ends up being a little different.
You're like hitting it with baseball bats. Like, this is how we do it over here.
Bang. If you unplug it and you plug it back in and it doesn't work, you start hitting it with a bat.
Bro, that's what I try to tell people. But
they don't teach that at UNT.
Martin Scorsese could never.
No, he couldn't.
I love you.
But yeah, I really do love being on show site, but it is exhausting. It can be very draining. It's very rewarding because
I bet.
Instead of working on a project like a film or a show and it takes you months to get to the end product and you have to edit it and go through production and post and like review and all these things and it takes forever, for a show it's like you can have immediate satisfaction of it being done within a day or 2 or even a week.
Nice.
And so that moment when you hear that like the client was happy, that everybody's satisfied and you're satisfied with the work you did, that like immediate gratification is so nice.
Man.
And you genuinely do learn something every day, like while you're there.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm sure it'll stay like that so great. I'm sure it'll always be consistently great. And well, I love that too. I mean, obviously I don't do stuff like that, but I don't know, maybe it's because, you know, growing up I loved Rugrats, as you can see, in Dragon Ball Z, and like I love the idea of just, you know, new adventure, meeting new people or whatever, so that I kind of gravitate towards that aspect that you were saying. I heard nothing else you said except meeting new people, and I immediately zeroed in on that.
And then I started talking technical, and you said, I'm done, we don't talk about this anymore.
I know, exactly. So moving on. No,
exactly, we're good.
No, totally joking. Well, how did school kind of prepare you for that? Assuming it did, like going into it, did you feel... Oh, okay. Oh, you're laughing. You're convulsing now.
I'm convulsing. I'm twitching. I do feel like it prepared me. I will say there's one specific person at UNT that prepared me the most, which is John Johns, who is the studio engineer.
Oh, yeah. Man, I'm very remorseful. I regret that I didn't like connect with him more. I just never had like time to actually, but I heard so many great things about him.
Yes.
Shout out homeboy.
Shout out John Johns. I just recently got to see him. I saw him while I was in the middle of my internship, and then I just saw him like last week. And now that I'm in my full-time position, it was just like, it was so amazing. But truly, yeah, if I hadn't connected with him, if I hadn't started working in the studio, and I didn't really know how to do any of that AV tech stuff when I started, and I wasn't particularly interested in it either, if I'm being honest. I've always been a film girly. Everybody's always known this about me.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I produce and I write and I direct and I work creatively, and I was known for that, and I was very satisfied with that. And I kind of took the studio job originally because I was like, well, this is a good opportunity to learn, and even if I don't like it, it'll still be really good on my resume.
Yeah.
But then he kind of exposed me to the secret hidden world that nobody talks about in media, which is corporate events. And genuinely, like, I didn't even think about it being a real sector of business in the industry, like ever. At UNT. Like, they tell you there's film, there's broadcast, there's sports, and you're good. Like, that's all. Those are your choices. And when you don't get hired, womp womp.
I smell a conspiracy here.
And it's like, then John took me to like shadow him on some corporate events, and he was like, look at all this. This is happening every day. There are multiple shows happening every single day.
Dang.
And they don't teach you about this. And my brain like exploded in that moment. He put down the paper with a QR code on it that said Alfred Media Internship, and there was a QR code to apply, and he just pointed at it and said, you need to apply this right now. And so of course I did. I'm not going to say no.
And then he put the gun down. He was like, good, wise decision.
Yeah, and now I can take the gun away. And if I hadn't been in that position, if I hadn't been exposed to that, I wouldn't have the opportunities I have now. And I still, even though it's not what I did in college, it is exactly where I want to be right now, because even though I'm not fictionally creative, I feel like I am like mentally creative in the sense that you are always having to improvise while you're on show. You're always having to come up with new ideas. You're always having to course correct, because the tech's always gonna, like, something's gonna happen. Like, technology is always gonna have some type of like flub or some kind of failure, and you have to improvise and improve. And
sometimes you'll record an episode and it'll be abandoned,
and it gets corrupted.
Then you have to reach out to the guest, be like, bro.
And then they're like, that's fine. I've experienced that too. It's normal. But when you also work with people who are so like mentally creative and also like media creative, but you never feel like you're missing out anymore. Like, I do miss working on wannabes. I do miss working on creative projects. It's still a part of my life that I hold like near and dear to my heart, but I'm still getting the same satisfaction from working on shows.
Gotcha. That's great. And you, something I wanted to touch on, that you said, very poignant. This is fulfilling for you, like at this moment, what you're doing right now, like you enjoy. And it's very important as someone who's nearing the ripe age of a 55.
Sure.
It's, you know, I'm about to be 30, and looking back at my 20s, just sometimes it's like, what have I done with my life or whatever? But you start to realize, you know, presumably, hopefully, you know, you have a lot of life left to live, right? And so, I mean, it's all about just like trying out different things, exploring what makes you happy again at that moment. And you keep doing that, just following your heart. It's almost like always rewarding. And oh, sorry to make that about me or whatever, but you said that, I was like,
no, that was beautiful. That was very tender.
Thank you. Delivery could have been a little better, but you know.
I disagree, but that's fine.
I
mean, you didn't follow the prompter exactly, as I noted.
This whole time.
This whole time, yeah, it's been there.
Conversations with Danielle. I didn't even get the name right.
No.
That's all. Well, cool, man. Well, obviously, I'm like very happy for you, having known you like prior to this. I'm glad to see that you're in a very like fulfilling role and spot, and you seem to be doing well. Seem to be. I imagine you are. Yeah.
I think so, yes.
That's really great, dude. Well, okay, so we talked about career, education, whatnot, and film. Film, yes. Tell me about that. So, I mean, I know you're doing this now. Would it be fair to like kind of like, oh yeah, Danielle's a filmmaker. Like, are you comfortable with the label like that, or how would you prefer to categorize yourself in that realm?
I don't want to call myself a retired filmmaker
Temporary
because
hiatus.
I'm 22 years old. And
You got 3 Oscars under your belt.
yeah, I'm honestly, I'm good. I'm where I need to be. I think I don't really know. I just know that I'm a creative person, and I think I'm still a student of film.
Nice.
I think I'm still learning in whatever aspect comes up for me that day. Sometimes it's working with graphics, sometimes it's office support, sometimes it's marketing. But whatever it is, I feel like I have my own point of view that I get to put on it. I am one of the youngest people there. I am the youngest person there.
I had to say that twice. Okay.
I had to think about it for a second.
You're about to like age drop like all the people.
I know. I was like, oh no. But I feel like my beautiful youth allows me to kind of give a point of view that is needed and bring more people that are my age into the AV like event industry, which we are definitely trying to like work on, and I feel like we've created some really good programs that we're starting up soon that are really going to help out with that.
Okay, nice. Can't wait to see that. This realm that you're in, you know, I guess kind of like throwing film, you know, just everything that you're passionate about, that you find fulfilling. Where did this kind of come from? Like, you know, teenage Danielle, were you having the same interests and whatnot that you kind of like find yourself, like, you know, throughout the years as you matured, went to college and whatnot, like coming towards here, or is like video technology all that always kind of been a liking of yours?
So when I was growing up, the biggest source of media in my life was movies and television.
Aaron shakes with excitement. Yes.
We start getting really excited here because we're going back to what we should be talking about, which is just film and television.
No. And corporate events.
Yeah. And I grew up watching reruns of Star Trek Next Generation since I was very, very small. And oh wow, yeah, she's right there. She was watching Star Trek Wrath of Khan from a very early age.
Yeah.
And it definitely was like the turning point for my life. It started at the very early age of like 3. And from that point on, I knew that I liked film, and I liked the idea of creating these wonderful spaces and wondrous creatures and like all of these amazing like adventures that they go on, and I wanted to do that, which first led me into wanting to be a makeup artist, which is what I wanted to do the most growing up. So I like taught myself how to do SFX.
Oh yeah.
When I got to college, that was like my first thing. When I was a freshman, I was like, oh, I can do makeup. Like, let me work on your shows. And then they're like, we don't do that. That's too complicated. And I was like, that's fair. But that's kind of what I started doing. And then as I got into college, I was like, oh, there's more things I can do other than just makeup. So that's kind of where it started for me. It's always kind of been sci-fi fantasy was always kind of the leading factor into wanting to be in film. And now I just kind of branch out into watching and learning everything I can, and not just sci-fi and fantasy anymore.
I got you. It's good to have that like one thing that's sort of like gateway drug, so to speak, that sort of unlocks everything. And favorite Star Trek movie, favorite Star Trek series?
Star Trek Wrath of Khan.
That's part 2, right?
So that's the second film in the original series.
Yes.
Movies. We don't necessarily talk about the first movie very much. Star Trek: The Motion Picture was released to very mediocre success, and essentially the studio told them, we're not necessarily interested in creating a second movie because it's not. We don't think it's going to make that much money. They were already much older by that point. The show had already been like done and over with. So they are much older than like the suave, young, handsome William Shatner back from the original series days. But essentially, kind of the story is that one of Gene Roddenberry's wife's friends told her that she wanted there to be another Star Trek movie. Because she just loved the character so much. And so she was like, you need to tell your husband that they need to make another one. And so Gene Roddenberry's wife told him, you need to make another one. So they did. But Leonard Nimoy, who played Spock, came back and he said, I will only do this if Spock can die at the end. Spoilers.
What the
Sorry.
Just beeps.
And they agreed. And so Star Trek II Wrath of Khan comes out. Such a good movie. Such a good movie. So
I hear
good.
things about that movie where it's like,
so
you don't even
good.
have to be a Star Trek fan apparently to like it.
It's so good. And very emotional. I absolutely lost my mind at the end, again at the ripe age of 5.
Dang.
I was losing my mind. Segue back into a little story about me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Spock dies, and I'm really broken up about it. And I run to my room, and I'm crying. And my dad knocks on my door, and he's trying to wipe the tears off my face. And he's like, "You don't even know what the name of the third movie is. You have to see what the name of the third movie is." And the name of the third movie is The Search for Spock.
Search for Spock.
And I'm like, "Oh, never mind. We're fine. We're back."
Question about those. I don't I don't know if you can confirm or deny this. I hear, this is someone who doesn't watch Star Trek. Apparently, the even numbered films in the original series are really good, and the odd numbered ones tend to be not as good. Can you confirm or deny that? And I hope you know all 5 million viewers who watch this are gonna be basing their opinion on Star Trek.
Off of me specifically.
Yes. That version of you specifically.
That version of me specifically. Well, she would know best. She would. I think that for me personally, from the original series, 2, 3, and 4 are their own trilogy in and of themselves to me. I think that those 3 movies are really, really good. I really like those. 5 and 6 are okay.
6 is the last one, ends up.
I believe 6 is the last one. And then there's 3 Next Generation movies. And I think all of them are good. I don't think any of them are super great. I think that Nemesis is really good.
Nemesis.
Star Trek Nemesis I think is really good. Insurrection I think Nemesis, First Contact is the best one.
That one I actually am aware of, I think.
First Contact's the best one. I think that Insurrection is good up to a certain point. It gets a little convoluted. And Nemesis they try to make a really far out point that a lot of people didn't agree with back in the day. But I think that if you look at it now, it's pretty acceptable for audiences to agree with.
Check this out and confirm it.
Yeah, check it out and confirm. But I believe that First Contact is the best, and the other 2 are 3 to 3.5 out of 5 for me.
Okay, nice.
And
I just know Tom Hardy's in the one, I think.
Yes, he is in Nemesis.
Okay, nice.
Yes, I think he's in Nemesis. He is the Nemesis.
Okay.
And
he also plays a Nemesis.
Super young, which is kind of weird. And he's all skinny. Dang. Yeah, very different.
Doesn't
Tom
have that
Hardy.
Bane body.
No, he does not. And then there's the reboots, and the reboots are just okay.
I like the first one. I never saw the second one. I heard Star Trek fans apparently enjoyed the third one a lot. I hated the second one and really enjoyed the third one.
Third one was fine. My energy levels I feel have gotten down now that we're talking about the remake. So let me go back up. No, I think the first one is pretty good. I think that all of them have a J.J. Abrams approach.
A flare, if you will.
A lens flare, if you will.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like they're not Star Trek to me. They're fantasy action movies, sci-fi action movies to me.
Nice.
That if they were just their own thing, I feel are good. But for me, they don't embody what Star Trek is to me, which is a little zany, a little campy, a little silly, but ultimately Star Trek is just about human experience and adventure and seeking out new life, and just the opportunities that come from that. It's just the adventure. And I feel the reboots were more about how many lens flares can we shove into one frame of this movie. The third one was fine. However, Idris Elba was in that movie, and he was completely underutilized. I know. And you don't even really know that he's there.
Is he made up? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
He is, but there's certain of his makeups that you can tell that it's him. I feel like his character was completely underutilized. He was supposed to be the antagonist. And I mean, he is, but it's just very underutilized. But yeah.
Okay, nice. And well, you kind of like speaking about the themes and whatnot, what you think of Star Trek. Maybe we should kind of like, campiness, whatever, all that stuff. Firstly, I didn't realize that like the original series was like in the 60s. I thought it was like in the 70s, and then went into like the first motion picture. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize it had been off the air for so long.
It had, yeah.
But knowing quite a few like Star Trek fans and whatnot, and sort of like the online discourse, I was really pleasantly surprised to Gene Roddenberry. Oh, hey.
There you go. You got it.
Woo. Only took like 50 takes of that.
But we got it there.
Yeah, you finally. You've aged like 5 years since we.
I know.
But to see like how much like the series was actually kind of like optimistic, and like I again comparing that to like the more like action oriented like modern movies and whatnot, like seeing that like
Star
the
Wars.
Looks off camera.
Looks off camera at boyfriend.
Shout out
Star Wars. I do like Star Wars a lot. Yeah, I think that people. I mean, I, as a Star Trek fan, lifelong, now with a Star Wars boyfriend, it's always been a part of my life that Star Wars has overshadowed Star Trek, and like that's just the way it is. And genuinely, the Star Wars movies are really good. Don't get me wrong, they're great. They just serve like a different like purpose in my brain than like Star Trek movies do. Like Star Wars movies are like pew pew, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so action packed. And then Star Trek movies are like, let's talk deep about like immigration and like how humanity honestly like erases other cultures, and how they're doing that to other civilizations now, and how if we come together and like understand the root of that, we can like be better for the entire universe. And that's like what Star Trek itches for me. But I think people don't understand how insane Star Trek was when it first came out. The first interracial kiss on television was Star Trek.
Yeah.
The first like very diverse cast was Star Trek, with like you have an Asian American, specifically Japanese. This is like coming off of like Japanese internment. You have like a black woman. You have, I mean, I don't think you have Walter Koenig, who's playing like Russian. Like you have all of these like characters. Spock is Jewish. William Shatner is Jewish. Like you have a very diverse cast coming out of a time when that was really not socially acceptable.
Yeah. And
even still, like while they were coming out with it, was not necessarily socially acceptable. And I feel like Star Trek has always been about pushing those boundaries. And growing up with that, I feel like was really important to like how my thought process is going like about my life.
Yeah, and I imagine seeing that like at a young age, you're not looking at it as like sort of being like diverse. You're just seeing it like as like this normal thing. So thus, like when you grow up or whatever, that's normal too. You're not looking like analyzing it on.
Yeah,
it's exactly. I mean, there's a famous story. I think Whoopi Goldberg. I think when she was a child, she watches and Ursula. Is that
Uhura? Are you talking about her character?
Okay, Star Trek, the original series, there's a African or a black woman. Or I'm not gonna be able to say that name.
Uhura, yeah.
Boop. Name pops up right there.
Played by Nichelle Nichols. We love you. We miss you.
Oh man, yes, I do too. She looks down at me like.
She's like,
who's
wow.
that? Like, oh.
Who are you?
But yeah, like Whoopi Goldberg as a child, like seeing her and like she tells your mom, like, look, there, and like she's like this space person, captain thingy, and
and Uhura is like extremely important. Like she is. They don't really explain this much, like in the original series, but like her character, like not only does she have like an earpiece for like universal translating, but her character also knows like countless languages. Also has like a couple scenes, especially like in the movies, where she has like some like fight sequences against like some men. That's like a really good scene. I love that one. That one's in the 4th movie. And she's just like such a important character, I think, to so many people of color. And which is crazy that you talk about Whoopi Goldberg, because she ended up playing Guinan in Next Generation, who was also an extremely important character, especially in the later seasons. So yeah, having somebody that you see is extremely important in any type of media, I think.
Yeah. Hopefully I inspire some, like, I don't know why a kid would be watching this, but he sees this like, someday I want to be an awkward young fellow like that man right there.
And then he grows up and he is.
Yeah, exactly. Even more awkward somehow.
But, somehow.
Yeah, somehow. Well, last thing about Star Trek, I mean, just favorite series? And do you consider Galaxy Quest to be a part of the Star Trek universe?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, there goes that fan theory. That's what the movie's called, right? Galaxy Quest?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, nice.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, nice.
Favorite series, Next Generation by far. And I'm currently like rewatching it actually with my boyfriend. And he's watching it for the first time.
When you watch, first, are you streaming it or do you have like physical media of it?
I was actually just gifted the entire first season of Next Gen by a friend, but I only have the first season. It's 7 seasons.
Oh.
So we are streaming it currently.
When it's streamed, this is just kind of like my little film. Is it 16:9 or is it letterbox like 4:3? Because I know obviously when it was broadcast, it was like 4:3.
It's 4:3.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Oh, I was about to say.
Oh, okay. We've
So
talked
many
about
shows.
resolution.
So many shows have been,
I know.
Seinfeld and
Yeah, no.
Buffy.
No, at least on Paramount, it is still correct resolution. But I think Paramount's the only thing it's on now. But yeah, so we've been watching that, and that's been really nice to just kind of revisit that. And then as a follow-up to Next Gen, Picard holds a very special place in my heart.
That's a really recent one.
It's a very recent show. The last season came out a year or so ago, I believe. It was only 2 seasons, I think. And yeah, the first season really destroyed me, and so I haven't really had the strength to watch the second one yet.
The Spock die in it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Spoiler. Yeah, but it's a really, really good show. And that show in particular, I feel like really blends the mix of like new media and like new narrative and kind of like keeping things interesting for like current audiences while still keeping Star Trek and like its core, like keeping it there. I feel like Picard really does a like really good job at that.
Okay, nice. Next Generation, Picard, nice. Hates all the other series, but
Don't like those ones. I'm just kidding. No, I like all the other ones too.
okay, great. Well, thank you so much for that. And I guess just last sort of thing to wrap up this interview section or the Star Trek conversation. Just talking about the Star Trek themes and whatnot. If you create something, is that something that like that you'd like to think that, assuming you unretire from film, that is, and
If I
maybe
come
like
back,
like exploring themes and whatnot, is that something that's kind of like important to you? Would you say, like I mean, maybe not those exact issues that Star Trek touches on, but do you find that important? Is that something that you would, as like an artist, as a creative, that you would like to implement in your work?
Oh sure, it works.
Yeah.
Oh sure.
I'm glad you knew what that was. Cool.
I did. I like having character-based stories, even though I'm not really like writing or creating anything right now. I am still like in my D&D sphere where I still create for my game. And first and foremost, I always try to put the characters before whatever kind of plot I had going for, like thought out. I try to put what the characters are doing and what their experiences are before the plot, and then have the plot be shaped around the characters. And so if I want to go back to writing, I want to go back to creating things if I have the time. And even when I wrote things in the past, I feel like they were very character driven instead of like plot driven.
Nice. I like that. I can't wait until you write like a movie about like some young 20-year-old chick like working in like corporate events and just all the wacky shenanigans that go on like in 24 hours.
Yeah, she opens a box and it's just wires, it's just cables, and they're all unwrapped.
Man.
And then somebody goes over and tells her, you have to wrap all of those right now.
Damn. Okay, anywho, wrapping up that. No, really great, dude. That's awesome. And I mean, just shout out whatever you continue to do this, you'll be successful. Having had the privilege of working with you, you're very talented and whatnot and hardworking. So I have no doubt your future will be filled with continuous success. And I'm excited to see where you go, what you happen upon next. So yeah. Well, thank you so much, Danielle. Kind of know each other, not all that much, but nevertheless, nice knowing you or getting to know you some more. And that wraps up the first segment. You ready to recommend some stuff to the audience now?
Oh, I'm so ready.
All right, bet. Well, oh, it's on my phone. I was like, my heart skipped a beat. I didn't write them down. Hello, audience of Conversations with Aaron. Danielle and I are now going to recommend 6 things to y'all. I think Danielle has 6.
I have 6.
6, all right, but and yeah. So like always, for me, I actually have 3 songs and then 2 bits of film advice, and then I think 1 life advice. I'm gonna play it by ear. We'll see what happens when we get to number 6. But cool. It'll be similar. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. Yeah.
Perfect.
You ready for this?
I'm so ready.
Oh well, I'm not. Okay.
Okay. Well then. Okay. So cut, and then we're gonna reset for 5 minutes, and you're gonna come back.
Come back on. It's a different person here.
It's
Idris Elba.
We just switched.
And that makeup.
Yeah.
He's like, oi. It's a little British accent.
He's got his little British accent.
Cool. Well, all right. We got this, dude. Cool. All right. Hello, y'all. So the first thing I'm going to recommend is a song by the Old 97s, which I think they're from Dallas. I think they're from Texas. Their song is called Where the Road Goes. And man, at the risk of sounding like, I don't want to be overreactive or, make this sound very much like a hyperbole, but this song low-key kind of saved my life. August was a bit of a rough month professionally for me, and I don't even think professionally. I think it was just kind of a weird month. I've no disrespect to August or whatever. Shout out. I know a lot of awesome people have August birthdays, but August, I don't know what. I guess because in my mind, I still feel like I'm going back to school, so it kind of feels weird. But August, it's always kind of a rough month for me, and this year proved to be no different. But this song just really. Sometimes, when you're feeling bad, like a song will kind of come your way that you haven't heard before, and it's as if the universe is like sending you a sign, like, hey, like keep going, dude, you're doing all right, and it like just perks you up, makes you feel better. And this song just like embodies that perfectly. The chorus is probably one of the most beautiful things like someone's ever like written, in my humble opinion. Do I know the lyrics at the top of my head? What is it like? You could have died that day back when you thought everything was lyrics are gonna appear here. Bam.
Whoa,
And
those are really heavy.
yeah, it's motherfucker spitting. But just really great, the idea that like wherever you are in your life, when you're young, early 20s, teen, mid 20s, late 20s, you can think you're kind of in a not so good place, and you're like, shit, man, like should I keep going? But then eventually you reach a point where you are fulfilled, where you are happy, where you are content. And you look back at your younger self when you were going through some things, and you're like, man, it's what if you would have given up that day? You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't, be around all these people and whatnot. And that's just a very important and poignant viewpoint, to have on life, because it's not always gonna be pretty. Whether by your own doing or just the universe's doing, just life kind of has its ups and downs, and just got to keep going, dude. Because I feel when you get to where you want to be, like. It makes everything worth it. It's always going to be worth it. And the great quote by Orson Welles that I live my life by. If you want a happy ending, that depends, of course, on where you end the story. So, when it's all great, that's, or if it's bad, it's like, well, your story's not ending yet. You're going, and who knows where the road goes. And I didn't even really talk about the song that much. I talked about what it instilled in me. But yeah, check it out. Where the Road Goes by the 97's phenomenal song. Shout out to that band. And yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to top that.
It's all good. You got those dolls right there.
I do. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Monster High Dolls.
Recommend number 1.
Recommendation number 1, you should definitely just buy Monster High Dolls.
Pinky from the My Little Pony thing or whatever those.
Oh yeah, Pinkie Pie.
Oh, that is the name?
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, you know your stuff.
Yeah. Not Star Trek, but My Little Pony.
No, it's okay. I mean, one of them is definitely more important than the other.
Yeah.
Okay, my first recommendation, I guess, will also be music related. An artist that is one of my favorites, which is the Nova Twins. Ooh. They are out of the UK, and I like to listen to a good hard rock / verging on metal, and they are definitely, I don't want to say up and coming, because I think they're already like very popular to me. They've grown a lot since I started listening to them about 2 years ago. They have an album that came out, I think in 2022, called Supernova. It's really good. Nice. And they kind of, even though all of their stuff is, harder rock, each song kind of does have its own like sound. And sometimes I get especially with new music, sometimes every song kind of sounds the same on an album, and then it kind of like gets kind of all muddled for me. But for them, I feel like each song that they have is very unique and also tells a story throughout. So like they have one song, not on the album actually, but called Athena, which I feel like is really good. They have another song on Supernova called Cleopatra, which is really good. So I would recommend both of those as a listen, but they are very good. I listen to them on my way to work, while I'm at work, on my way from work.
Right now.
Right now. So I would say definitely give them a listen.
Okay. The Nova Twins?
The Nova Twins.
Okay, nice. All right. Shout out. Have you ever seen them in concert?
No, but I wanted to.
Oh, we're going to take a quick break while Danielle.
We're going to take a quick break while I cry.
Sulks.
They were going on tour with the Foo Fighters, actually. They were opening for them, and my dad was going to go with me, and it was going to be so great. And then we looked at the tickets, and they were all like $600.
Man.
And I was like, I can't afford that. So I did not go. But they'll come around.
$600, and you're standing by someone who's like 7 feet tall, and then you can't swim.
And they're like
happens.
doing this the whole time.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no. But they'll come back around. I know. Once they'll probably release another album soon, and then they'll do another tour, and then the tickets will probably still be expensive, but I'll just save my money.
Starting now, you'll save it for to afford one ticket.
Yeah.
Man, now I do like, I went to a Mitski concert the other night, and before that I saw Maggie Rogers back in May. Shout out to both of those artists. And both times I had like we were sitting down, I wasn't standing, and I'm like, dude, I don't know if I can go back to standing. I'm pretty sure I can, because, you know, some if it was like a rock band, I'd probably want to be like up and like jumping or whatever, but just sitting down or whatever, I'm like, oh, I can actually see the stage again. No one's like blocking my view. It was really great. Love concerts. And well, cool. Shout out Nova Twins. Thank you. That was a great first recommendation. Curious what your other 5 are.
Oh yeah, me too.
A lot to live up to. Yeah. Cool. Well, my second recommendation is gonna be another song. It's Honey Crash by, dude, if I mispronounce his name, I am so sorry. I apologize to all 5 viewers that I have if I mispronounce this. Sazami?
That sounded good.
Yeah, you know, we'll see. But then the actual artist is gonna be like, bro.
He's gonna watch this episode, and then he's gonna be like, bro, that is not true at all.
Yeah. And then she's gonna watch it again and be like, bro, that's not even my
True.
But yeah, dude, this song I think it just came out like this year, and the choruses are just, I can't even explain it. It literally feels like this should be already on like Rolling Stone's like top 500 songs of all time. It's amazing. It's great. And just the fact that it's kind of, I don't even know how I heard it. I think I heard it like either on the radio, 91.7 KXT, shout out, or I don't know, like at a store somewhere. But I heard it, and similar to, I just now mentioned Maggie Rogers, similar to when I heard her song, That's Where I Am, which became one of my all-time favorites. This had the exact same impact on me, where like I heard it and immediately knew like this is gonna be a song that I'm gonna love forever. And I mean, I feel like I discovered it like 2 weeks ago. I probably listened to it like 2,000 times, give or take a few, and hasn't lost its impact. Check it out. The choruses are just so explosive, and I'm trying to sing. You know, my music career is kind of like this. It's not exactly. Yeah, it's kind of like that. I think. Yeah.
It's on the up.
Yeah. and like this is the surface, and I'm like right here. But I'm trying to sing more, and listening to a song like this, it's crazy to just see how like talented people can be at singing, because this artist, Sazami, hopefully I pronounced that correct, she is just, her singing ability in this like particular tune is just, what she achieves is just like kind of otherworldly. It's so explosive, it's so great, and yeah, I really can't do it justice. My words are vastly inferior to the quality that is this song. And yeah, check it out, Honey Crash. It'll quickly become one of your favorites, I'm almost certain. And if not, then just get better taste.
You're wrong.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
I know you're kind of building up to like saying something so controversial like that, but yeah, if you don't like this song, you're wrong.
Exactly, bro. Come from Danielle. Probably hasn't even heard the song before, but she knows.
But I know that if I listen to it, which I will then know that if you don't like it, you are wrong.
Exactly. Text Aaron, actually, you're wrong. I'm like, oh.
No,
cool. Well, that was my second recommendation. Thank you so much. And Danielle, what is yours?
I'm going to change the narrative with a book.
Oh, nice.
Book recommendation, which is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. It is the first book in a series that kind of all have the same setting, which is a coffee shop. It is a very emotional book. I read it when I was still in college, but kind of feeling a little homesick. And it's a very easy read. I think that the book is maybe max 150 pages, maybe 200. It's a very easy read. It's split up into 4 vignettes, and each one kind of tells a different person's story within their life going to this coffee shop, which has some kind of mystical properties to it that allow them to go back in time. But there's some stipulations there, and essentially it's like how they use the coffee shop, how they use the powers, and kind of how they heal in this coffee shop. And so I also felt very healed by this book. I haven't read any of the other books in the series yet because, again, it destroyed me, and I haven't worked up to wanting to destroy myself and heal again. One was enough for me right now. But the book is absolutely beautifully written, and I think it was originally written in Japanese, translated to English. Absolutely beautiful. I recommend this book to anybody who wants a quick read, but wants something that is going to really kind of hit them in a way that isn't just like super sad, but there's like emotions and like feelings and connections that are really relatable.
How many times have you read it?
I've read it twice.
Twice?
Yeah.
Anything different on the second read that wasn't present in the first, like whether it be emotionally or?
I think that the second time I was more comfortable feeling my emotions. The first time I read it, it's always a little, even if I'm alone, it's a little embarrassing to cry sometimes, right? Like sometimes you're like, oh my God, I'm crying at a book. Oh my God, that's crazy. Like, why are these words? Like, I'm just like, I'm reading and now I'm crying. And I wasn't really ready to accept the fact that these stories and these characters were hitting me as hard as they were. And then I finished reading the book, and how much it meant to me finally sunk in. I think each vignette can kind of affect you differently based on your life experiences. And so there's a certain one that hit me harder than the others. And after reading it and then going back to it a couple months later with a different mindset emotionally, crying wasn't a sad cry. It was a happy cry of like, oh my God, I'm feeling the feelings, and it's relatable to other people. And I kind of felt connected to other people who might have been reading it or had read it and maybe felt the same things that I felt.
Dang, that's really great, dude. And talking about it, like, and then there's like me, like I'll be jogging, thinking of like movie ideas I have, and then I'll cry at those, and then like people just like run by.
Oh, I cry every day.
Yeah.
Just
every day.
I could watch a TikTok about like animals being reunited with their owners, and I'll tear up. Like, I'm very emotional, but I just sometimes you need to be a little more in touch with your emotions, or sometimes you don't know why you're getting emotional. And a book like that definitely made me understand why I was getting emotional.
Nice. Well, that's really beautiful, dude. One more time, the book was called?
Before the Coffee Gets Cold.
And the series itself is called? Or does it have like a sort of like?
It might, but I think it's like a fan-made like series name. I don't know if it has like a series name. Each one just kind of is about the coffee shop.
Man, you said coffee shop. I was like, is this like fan fiction of like the Friends cast?
Yeah,
like everybody just
gosh.
like that little. Oh, cool, man. Yeah, I mean, I know the viewers are like clamoring for more books because I'm always just recommending like film and songs and whatnot. You're welcome, Stefan. He's like my best friend, and he's like an avid reader, and so he's like, you need to get more books on. And I'm like, bro, I'm illiterate. Like, stop asking that.
You're welcome, Stefan. I am an avid reader.
Exactly. So you're welcome. But cool. Well, second recommendation. We're going to be on to our third now. My third recommendation is going to be Number One Crush by Garbage, specifically the Nell Hooper mix. Because like. There's like the original mix, which is fine, but I think the more well-known is like the sort of, I guess, remix, the Nell Hooper mix. Fun little story about the song, which sounds very, the remix is like very like structurally at least, it's very similar to Closer by Nine Inch Nails. I kind of realized the other, I was like, why does it sound familiar? I'm like, oh, it follows that same sort of mid-90s like edginess. But fun fact, so this version, the Nell Hooper mix, starts with like a moan, which is like sampled from a Madonna song, I think. It's just like pitched differently. And I frequent my local library to do like writing just because I enjoy writing there, because if I'm at home, like I get distracted, I want to go on YouTube or, you know, whatever.
Exactly.
And I thought you were flipping me off also. But anywho, and when I'm there, I usually just put on music, and I don't know how, like, I guess my volume was already up, and so I put on like my Bluetooth headphones, and the volume was all the way up, and I play that song. And again, it literally starts with just like a woman moaning, and like this old man was kind of next to me, and like he heard it. A lot of people heard it, because it's just, I'm not gonna do it, but yeah, just imagine a moan, and people kind of like looked, and I was like, oh, and then like immediately, you know, but then I was like, well, let me not turn it down. Let me keep it up a bit so they know it's a song that I'm listening to, and it's not anything else. And so I was like, I let it play. The drums came in, the vocals came in, and then I turned it down. I was like, whew. I'm sure they didn't.
Crisis averted.
Exactly. I'm now banned from that from unrelated reasons. So, but yeah, just a really great song. The script that I'm writing now, Denton, Texas. I can't wait to look back at this episode like 10 years from now and be like, oh yeah, that script that was giving him so much trouble, he finished, made it to an amazing film, and launched his career. Yeah, I don't know. Listening to this song on repeat, like literally sometimes I'll spend like 3 hours just listening to it like while I'm writing. It's really helped develop the characters in the world and whatnot. I don't know what it is about this song. I think it's the sound itself. Something about it just really resonates with me, and at least with this particular story that I'm working on. And yeah, just hugely inspiring, which again, the song is, you know, like a sexy, like sort of about like a stalker obsessed with someone, you know, hence the name Number One Crush. But vocals are great. The singer's name, I forget, she does a phenomenal job. The choruses, specifically the second chorus, I mean, they're pretty much the same thing, but the lyrics in the second chorus that start with violate all the love that you give me. I don't know, something about that second chorus is really hypnotic, and listening to that, like when I'm writing, I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Oh, like it just helps me develop ideas, like listening to this song specifically with that second chorus. And yeah, that's my third recommendation, Number One Crush by Garbage, the Nell Hooper mix. And Danielle, what is yours?
Oh my God, you're not going to be ready for this one. My third recommendation is, I think, very simple, but like I have reasons why. So my third recommendation, I just wrote down plants. And
studio plants.
Any studio plants, home plants, outdoor plants. I would say having a plant, or I mean, a pet is like this. It's the same thought process for me, but I feel like a plant is much easier. I have a lot of plants. Some people might say I have a problem. I don't think I have a problem. For me, plants give me a reason to kind of structure my day. So we were kind of talking a little bit about like, oh, do I miss the structure of college? But funny enough, so I take care of my plants like very like excessively, I think. And so I kind of have a schedule with them, and then I like to like take care of them. One of my favorite scenes in this K-drama that I really love called Crash Landing on You, there's a scene where one of the main characters has this tomato plant, and he's told that if he says 5 nice things to this plant every day, the plant will grow faster. And so like for the remainder of the episode, he'll like start every day by telling the plant like 5 beautiful things that he saw. And like by the end of the episode, that like cuts like forward a couple months, like the tomato plant is like the largest thing in his room.
It's Audrey from the Little Shop of Horrors.
Little Shop of Horrors. Yes. And so for me, it's like the plants give me a reason to say, like, sometimes it's hard to like just say nice things. You know, sometimes we're so stuck in the things that we could do better that we kind of focus on the negative. But if I talk about negative things around my plants are going to die. So I have to talk about nice things, and I keep my plants kind of everywhere in my apartment, so I have no choice but to say nice things. And now my plants are beautiful, and they're like luxurious and growing, and I'm propagating them, and like I get to share them with my friends and like give them like gifts, like all these kinds of things. So I think that like having something that sometimes you have to, you know, be forced to say positive things, not just about yourself, but about the world. Like having that push to have that in your life, like it really changed everything for me. So I would recommend getting a plant and telling it that you love it.
Nice, man. I'm just imagining I have a plant. It spends like a day with me, and then I come home and it's like hanging from the rafter like a noose or whatever, just because I made it so depressed.
Exactly.
Jesus.
I mean, there are, you know, studies that show like if you play like certain types of music around your plants, like if you like laughter, like all these things that like they do respond to it. Whether or not that's placebo or not is besides the point to me, because I think that if it works, it works. And so, yeah, even something as simple as just like an ivy or like a pothos, something like that you practically is unkillable. I know some people say that they kill them no matter what, but
what plants do you have? Like, have you experimented with many? Like, or like start off easily. What was the first plant you got?
Oh gosh, so the first plant I think I was actually ever given when I was much younger was a bamboo plant.
Bamboo.
So I just like I had it in water because they can actually just grow in water, no soil. And so I had that in high school, and then I left it at home when I went to college, and then it died. But then I started getting into succulents because I was still living in the dorms, and it was a lot easier to keep like a little succulent. And so the one that I've actually had since sophomore year is still alive.
Oh, that's nice.
I know.
Ooh.
And so that's kind of like my college buddy in a sense, kind of been with me through everything, and she is also flourishing. But now I have succulents still. I have a lot of different ivies, so like pothoses, philodendrons. I have one, the colloquial term is Swiss cheese monstera. So I have one of those. It's like a smaller monstera, the ones that kind of have like the leaves that look like this, with like the little cuts in them.
Zoom in on Aaron's face, like, ah, yes.
Numbers.
The piranha plant from Super Mario. I'm like, ah, yes.
I know that one. So yeah, I have a bunch of different plants, and I want to try to branch out. I also have an oregano plant that's currently coming back, which is really great because for a second it was not doing well.
Dang.
But yeah, I love plants.
Nice.
That's it.
So speak positively, water it, fertilize it.
And and if you nurture the plant, I feel like it's way easier to nurture yourself.
Nice. That's good, man. Like, you know, sometimes just like having that little, like, you know, like sort of the mundaneness of life, just like having something to like structure your days on, that can go a long way. Yeah. Like going to a library and doing writing or whatever. It's awesome. Giving yourself an excuse to do something that you might not even think is going to like nourish you, but it genuinely does. Like getting out of your own space that you might love, like your apartment, getting out and just getting some sun. You know, they always tell you just go out and like get some sun, and I was always like, that's not going to do anything for me. And then I started doing it, and I was like, wait a second. Superman was a myth. What? Oh, cool, man. Well, thank you so much. Plants are awesome. And so it was easy to convince you to get a plant, like you said, like your friends told you to get a plant. Oh yeah, so like at one point, like in high school, I think my mom just like either my mom or my dad was like gifted one. My parents both work in education, and I think like their students had gifted them one, and they were like, "Oh, just give it to Danielle. You know, she likes things." You know, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is just like super easy." And the bamboo plant I had like required little to no maintenance, and then in college I was given the succulent as a gift. I think it was maybe a birthday gift. And then from there I was like, well, it needs a friend, and then it can only be two, so they need a third guy to kind of keep it interesting. And by this point, let's just buy a whole pallet of them because they're on sale. And then let me just start taking little pieces off the ground because they're just going to throw them away anyway. And then now I have an army. Damn, bro. Me as a parent. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for recommending that. I know quite a few people with plants, and it's really cool to see the thought process behind it and whatnot. And I think me and my roommate he and I were actually talking about getting or he was talking about getting a plan, and I was kind of nodding my head. I was like, oh yeah, that'd be pretty cool. So yeah, we'll see. I'll keep you updated, and
Yes.
yeah, I'll have to reach out to you for some advice.
Yes.
Okay, halfway done with it. We're gonna be doing our fourth recommendations now. My fourth one is gonna be some film advice, because I don't know if y'all know this. I'm kind of a little filmmaker, so I like offering. Yeah, I know. Who'd have thunk?
I didn't.
Director of Birdemic and whatnot, Aaron
Not
Garcia.
Me. I didn't know.
But yeah, my advice is going to be, if you're a director, specifically if you're a director or a producer, I'm not saying you have to be great at it. Doesn't really have to be a passion of yours per se, but I would recommend learning how to edit and just really getting comfortable with, like, I use Premiere personally. I love Premiere, which I didn't know was a hot take, but apparently a lot of people hate Premiere.
Apparently it is a hot take.
Yeah, I don't know, but anyway, yeah, I'd recommend just knowing how to edit. It'll save you a lot of trouble when you're directing and whatnot. You'll realize, if just as an example, if say you're filming a master shot, a sort of wide shot covering like the entire action of a scene and whatnot, and something messes up, they have the set. I'll have to call her later.
You have to. You have to.
It's good. No,
You have to.
No, I know what it's. I know she's gonna tell you. It's all good. Woo. Yeah. Say day of filming. It's already like you're going like over schedule. It's like whatever. I don't know. You're filming a master shot. Something goes wrong or whatever. And it's like, you could reshoot it, or you could also just know in editing, like, well, hey, in editing, I know I could cut to this shot or whatever. Therefore, it's not a big issue. So let's move on. Let's get like a close up, whatever. And editing really just makes you realize, it helps you get a greater sense of what you actually need, because what you need and what you want are seldom the same, right? When you're at like, oh, I want coverage, I want like, 100 different angles, like, unless you're Oliver Stone, like, are you actually going to use all of those? Like, probably not. If you're, editing mine, as an editor, you'll kind of know just instinctively. We can just, this scene, I know kind of what the pacing is going to be. I know, I'm going to play this out in like a T-shot, and it's going to, pan, become a wide. It just helps you realize that a lot of it helps you essentially edit on the spot and trim a lot of fat that, again, is just really going to slow the production down, because ultimately, like, you can be an auteur, you can call yourself an auteur all you want, but you're working with other people, and no one likes a dictator who's just like telling people to do all this shit, and just like, no, I have to film 300 takes of this one scene of this person like lifting a cup. I may or may not be projecting here, and no one likes that stuff or whatever. You're working with other people. You should be nice and positive, and you don't want to waste your time. So just knowing ahead of time what you actually need. You don't necessarily have to be an editor to know that, but it definitely helps, and it's just fun. I love editing. That's where like the magic happens. That's y'all think like production, like filming is my favorite part. Editing is my part, because I can just be by myself. Goldfish in one hand, fucking sweet tea in the other, and then, or maybe sweet tea and goldfish in one hand, keyboard hand on the other. I don't know, but editing's just a great time, and yeah, I recommend doing that. And yeah, what's your fourth recommendation?
Okay.
Damn, I low-key kind of like popped my neck when I did that.
Okay, I get it, because editing also makes me like I honestly love editing too. So
do you use Premiere?
Yes, I do. Honestly, very important to learn. Also, I think as a student, if you're still a student filmmaker, very important to learn how to edit on your own. Just because at the end of the day, you don't know if everybody's going to pull their weight. And so if you, and it can really stress you out if you have to wait on somebody, or if somebody drops for any reason. It can even be like a very valid reason for not being able to work on something anymore. Knowing how to take like control of the situation and just cut a couple frames together and just kind of even make it easier for the person who is editing can really change everything.
No, literally. And it's just fun when you can get away with too, like so many shots, like, where it'd be like an outtake, like, not to plug my movie, but I made this movie. We made this movie called Facelift, and there's a shot of the main character on a train where it comes to a halt, and she's kind of like looking, and it looks like she's concerned because her family's outside, and she's kind of wary about seeing them. But the shot I used was like, we weren't even filming. I was directing her, and so she's listening to me like, where's Aaron? Sort of thing. But like, I just cut out the audio and put it. But then like, see, as an editor, you know, like, oh, I can use everything to make something. It's like a little mosaic.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, fun fact.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
You should definitely watch Facelift.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Bro, you know that one has like 6,000 views?
Really?
That's crazy.
Oh,
I've never had
no.
anything that reached 1,000, maybe like 6,000.
It should. I mean, it should have more. It was a great work.
Thank you, bro. Man, your performance in it was amazing. Danny.
That's me. Oh my God, I remember that.
Sorry to hijack your recommendation.
No. I do love a good edit. Okay, now we're also going to get into my little film-esque media, life advice. My recommendation is learn how to wrap your cables.
Like the over-under thing? Mm-hmm. Nice.
I beg people, because I didn't even, I knew coming out of college how to wrap cables. I knew how to wrap them. I didn't know how to wrap them quickly. And so now I feel like I can do it in my sleep. But
that trauma.
Oh my God, yeah. You get like a 150-foot cable and you're just you're wrapping forever. You're wrapping forever. Or you get like a 70-pound Sockapex cable and you're just like,
oh yeah.
You're just dying. But no, learn how to wrap your cables, not only to respect the people who have to then take them out and put them away, or also just to respect the people who are going to be using them after you, because nobody likes a tangled cable coming out of the case. Nobody likes having to deal with that. And also it can just be dangerous if you throw it out and then there's knots in it and it's not perfectly unwrapped or wrapped. It can really just be difficult for other people on set. And it's just, I think also it really kind of shows in experience in a way, because anybody can kind of work on a set genuinely. You don't even really have to go to college for film or for anything in media. You just kind of have to have a willingness to learn. But if you know how to wrap a cable, people see that and then they want you around, because if you know how to wrap a cable, you are already setting yourself above 50% of other people.
Nothing's more pleasing than when you do it and it has a perfect little bunny ear or something. I think they were rabbit ears. I think that's kind of what they're referred to as, just the little ears hanging. Now that you do that, do you do it with everything, your phone charger? Do you wrap it properly and all that? I do. I like the structure of it. And some cables are not going to be a perfect over under. Some of them are going to have their own path that you have to follow. Yeah.
But as long as they look nice and they unwrap perfectly, or at least as well as you can, I think that just really shows your dedication and the amount of time that you've taken to kind of take care of the craft.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I learned how to do it, but it's over under, but so I still do it properly, but I do inverted. I don't get how that happened, but instead of going under for something like that. Yeah, I just know if you put them if I stood next to a mirror and you looked at my reflection, you're like, oh, he's doing it right. Yeah. But yeah, it's weird. It's so pleasing. It's so great.
It's so nice.
Man, I think back to when I was a kid and I would just be okay,
I know.
And then just throw that in and it'd slinky out.
Horrifying.
Oh, great. Well, thank you so much. That high key is actually very important. If you have any interest in film, definitely know how to do that. It's I can't think of the word or phrase or term right now, but it's sort of this unspoken thing that where you will kind of be judged on if you do something kind of, it's just that one little thing, kind of first impressions are a lot. And
yes. And a lot of times, especially if you're kind of getting your first break and actually working on something more either independent or working as a PA on something, and you're expected to kind of work in that PA role, maybe wrapping cables, bringing cables out, it really sets you apart, and it's a thing. I think it's also a thing of respect, just being able to do it efficiently will really separate you from everybody else, and it's so important. Yeah, it's so important.
You do it, and then once you get it, it's low key something you can practice, and then you're done. Do the Indiana Jones thing where you go in and make sure it's in a straight line, it's perfect, and it's not all messed up. Yeah, I remember being in college and doing that, and okay, Aaron, release him. Go in, it'd be a little loop. They're do it again. I'd be God damn.
I know, painful.
But good times. But cool. Well, thank you so much for that. That was an awesome recommendation. We're down to our last two.
Oh my gosh.
My fifth recommendation is gonna be another piece of film advice. It's it's film advice. Blocking. It's kind of like stage too, but kind of like directing. Blocking specifically with like, I guess with camera, but more so with sort of like the talent themselves, the actors. Blocking, I swear, like modern film, that seems to be kind of like a lost art form. I mean, just maybe just something about like digital cameras have become so nice, like film, it's finite, right? The amount of like film stock you have, so you have to be really kind of careful. You have to be really prepared for what you shoot, because you can't, with digital, like, oh, our memory card's full, boop, here's another, or you just delete the footage. Film, it's like, okay, well, anyhow, I'm going on a tangent. The point is, block your actors. It's well, one, I think for the talent, it helps them embody the characters a little more, actually living in the space and moving around and whatnot. And I think it just breathes life into it can breathe life into a scene that can be otherwise, just kind of boring or mundane. A famous example, I think, is, I believe it was the movie The American President. I think that's the President's Wife, something like that. It's an Aaron Sorkin written movie directed by Rob Reiner. Oh no, it was before that. A Few Good Men, an Aaron Sorkin written movie directed by Rob Reiner. And Aaron Sorkin, he's kind of known for like his dialogue, very like talky, and he's kind of known for his shows now, this like walk and talk thing, which is exactly what it sounds like. People are walking and talking, and it's very, kind of intense. Rob Reiner apparently was the one who kind of made that happen, though, because he directed A Few Good Men, and he was like, yeah, this is really wordy, but we need if everybody's just sitting and talking, it's going to be boring, so let's block them to where they're always walking and doing it. And bam, it makes that movie so much more exciting, because imagine if they were just talking like that shit would be boring. I mean, it'd probably be fine, but just goes to show what blocking can do to elevate a scene and whatnot. And it's just, if it's your style, look, I don't want to dog anyone. If you want to just be cutting back and forth, over the shoulder, two shot over the shoulder, whatever. But like personally, I find it more if it's like, say Danielle's over there and it's like a wide shot and she's over there, so oh, we got a wide, and then she comes over here and then turns into a close up. Blocking your actors can allow you to combine like multiple shots into one. It doesn't have to solely be a close up. It doesn't have to be solely a medium shot, a long shot, so forth. You can move it and have it be around, and that's just talent. If you block your camera too, if you dolly in, that's amazing. Like emotionally, what you can tell, your actors don't have to say anything. You can just dolly in on Danielle right now, and like, oh yeah, she's clearly being like, when is this episode gonna be over? I'm clearly thinking about other things and whatnot. It's so great. So yeah, that's my advice to filmmakers out there. Really try your hand at blocking. It'll just help add so much more color to your scenes and whatnot, and give a lot more energy, I feel. So yeah, that's my fifth recommendation.
Yes, my next recommendation, kind of similar to like an etiquette thing, is comms etiquette.
Comms etiquette? Ooh, yes. I'm learning. What's this comms etiquette?
So like any headset,
Mm-hmm.
like comms. I didn't do a lot of news while I was at UNT. But when you kind of doing that broadcast, everybody's on headset. And that's, the main way that you communicate with each other, you communicate with the talent, you communicate with the cameras, stage manager communicates back to the booth or whatever. It's pretty similar in my job, because there's front of house, there's behind the house, there's all the different departments kind of all spread out. So you can't just, look over and be like, hey, you need to advance. Hey, you need to switch the camera. Everything's over headset. And at any point in time, you can have anywhere from like a dozen to like 40, 50 people on comms at the same time. And so it is so important, and especially when you get on like bigger film sets, everybody's going to be on comms too, because you're on some kind of set where it's like so like large, so sparse, and everybody needs to communicate with each other. And so comms etiquette is something that I think everybody should learn, which is just keep your headset off. You're probably not going to have to talk to anybody. If you hear somebody say something and you have a really good comeback to it, you don't need to say anything. And genuinely just keep to yourself, and pretty much unless you need to speak, just don't speak. And then once you get more comfortable and you like know the people, or you have like a specific role, obviously that requires you to speak, then please do be loud, like make sure that you are clear, but making sure that the information can be transferred from point A to point B as seamlessly as possible without any chatter in between is super important. And yeah, I would say comms etiquette is one of the biggest things that I learned while I was first working on shows, was just, you know, how people interact with each other, how they speak to each other, even in really intense situations where people are getting a little stressed, like how to make sure that you're not just like blowing up over comms, how you can kind of remain calm and collected even if you're literally losing your mind. And yeah, I would just say, please learn your etiquette.
Nice. And do you feel like a lot of that like learning just comes from like experience and whatnot, sort of maybe making mistakes or seeing other people make mistakes and just like, oh shit, like.
Oh yes, I would definitely say that I have both. I don't think I've made any like major mistakes per se, but even just like something as simple as like accidentally leaving my comm on and then like, because you have it right here. I mean, if you leave it on, people are gonna hear you breathe. If you leave it on and you take a drink of water or you eat chips, people are gonna hear you, and it gets annoying. And I've definitely been guilty of accidentally leaving my comm on, or I've heard, you know, people munching on Cheetos before. And you know, it's like, sometimes it's just like funny. It's like, oops, you know, mostly it's like, not anybody actually trying to do it. It's on accident. So it is definitely just like while you're there, you learn process.
Oh, okay, that sounds so fun.
Being on comms is honestly great because, especially for me, because I just stay silent most of the time. I was working on a show last week, and I think I used my comm like maybe over the course of like 4 days, in like 8 to 10 hour days each day, maybe like 6 times, mostly just listening. And because I didn't need to call any camera cues, I didn't need to call anything. No, like I wasn't working on audio or anything, so I didn't need to really have any of my cues called or anything. I just needed to listen to the cues. And just listening to people interact with each other, also just listening to, you know, what they're talking about and how they're calling their shots. Really, again, like learning. Even if I'm not interested in doing audio, learning how they call it, learning, you know, they might say like, oh, this is wrong, I'm gonna fix it by doing X, Y, Z. It's like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. So it's all a learning process.
Nice. Oh man, I'm finna quit the show and become what Danielle is.
Come on, do it.
Application gets rejected, like, oh, now I don't have a show, I don't have anything.
Now I don't have anything.
It's so great, dude. That sounds awesome. And it's just like, all jokes aside, it's so like inspiring just to hear you like talk passionately about this. I'm like, you go, Danielle.
Oh, thank you.
I'm very happy for you. Cool. Well, we're on to our final recommendation. My sixth and final recommendation is just gonna be like, it's gonna be kind of like sort of general or whatever, but like I kind of alluded to, you know, August was just sort of a weird month for me or whatever. Made me go through like a little midlife crisis for probably like the 4th time, so I guess that equals just like a crisis. But yeah, dude, just my last piece of advice, just really to take a chance on yourself and whatnot, whether it be anything with like film, music, and whatnot. It's because look, you know, you have a job, or if you have like a 9 to 5, and it's awesome, and if you love your job, that's great. But if you're someone like me who it's like, oh, you have it, but you aspire to be something else and whatnot, and you know you're just kind of always working that job, and it kind of becomes draining. You kind of like lose focus on that because it's like, oh, well, I need money. Like obviously, like everybody needs money, and so jobs are important and whatnot, and you can't always just be doing your hobbies. But at the same time, life is just kind of like too short, and when you really just kind of think about it, it's if you're kind of just like waking up, going to work, and then, you know, you're tired from that, and so after work you just sort of do nothing and then pass out, and on the weekends you're recovering from work to go back to work, and it's just like this endless cycle. It's sort of maddening and whatnot. And just September, okay, like August started really bad, but then like toward the end of it until now, I've probably been like the most creatively fulfilled I've felt in probably years. I haven't felt like as I probably don't look happy because low-key I'm a little tired. I still feel like I'm hungover from this concert I went to 2 days ago, that Mitski one. But don't let my paleness, my gauntness fool you. But I have felt so creatively fulfilled because I'm writing now again this script that I promise all of you is going to be a huge deal. I really think it's going to change. It's going to be like what Clerks was, what Reservoir Dogs, like in terms of like an independent film, like blowing up. I'm so excited about this movie. Jesus. And I've just been writing it. I've really just taken the time to like, just go to the library and write it and just focus on it. It's been so rewarding. And because I've done that, it's somehow just improved my mindset to where now I feel more confident about exploring music and like actually trying to get music to happen. I've met this drummer, Dan. If you're watching this, you're awesome. You're perfect. And it feels like we're going to start performing live. And it's all just because taking a chance on myself. I'm like doing these things that actually make me happy. And you're taking a break from just like the mundaneness of life to find what makes you fulfilled. And I really just feel like I've never been happier. Like me and my roommate joke, like this has sort of been like the year of healing because 2023 was turbulent, ended pretty god-awfully. The very end of it was pretty cute, though. It was, December 30th, it was pretty cool. It was awesome, but nevertheless. And so 2024 has just been sort of on an upswing and just doing all of this. I really feel 10 years from now, I'll look back at like September or late August, early September. That was sort of like the moment where everything changed because I fully just bet on myself like, hey, like I can always have I'll get another job. I'll have a job. Money will, be fine, but you're only going to live one life for it ever to actually like chase your dreams and your aspirations and whatnot. And I'm doing that right now. And I'm telling you, like when you do that, when you finally take a chance, like nothing's better. You kind of feel like you can really do anything. And bit of a rambling thing, but just know this is just sort of a way for me to just plug my next movie, Denton, Texas, which I really feel is going to be monumental. So be on the lookout. Hello, future Aaron, future successful Aaron. You're welcome. That I wrote all this fucking 200 pages of this 3.5 hour long script.
I am in the presence of greatness currently.
Tommy Pickles.
Yes.
Yes.
And Aaron.
Thank you. I didn't know your dog was named Aaron.
Yeah, and Aaron too.
Yeah. But yeah.
That was very emotional.
Thank you. I'm glad. But yeah, that was my sixth and final recommendation. Thank you so much for listening to me pontificate. What is yours?
That was beautiful. That was truly beautiful.
Thank you.
Mine is kind of a work thing, but I think also more just like a life thing, and that's like advocating for yourself, which is I think really hard to do, especially I don't want to get like too crazy, but like as a woman, it's been really hard for me to do that. Sometimes that's not always like seen as something that we should do, and so I've always struggled with like standing up for myself or even just kind of like sharing my own opinions, and so when I kind of got this opportunity to work in media and I was graduating college and I was very, very lucky to not have to worry about trying to still find something. I was worried about not getting a full-time position after the internship, but still just like having somewhere that I was landing after college. I felt very lucky, but I also had no idea what I was actually doing. I had gone through UNT with all of this film experience that was lovely and through all of these like amazing experiences, but then I came out of it and I didn't really know like who I actually was. I knew that I had been this producer who had worked on my show and I had done all these other great things with other people, but now college was over and I didn't want who I was in college to I didn't want to peak, right? I didn't want to be that person who goes back to you and she's like, oh my God, it's like I was just here yesterday. I wanted to be my own person, and how could I do that? And the only way I came to the conclusion the only way you can truly do that is to advocate for yourself, whether it be in your job or in your personal life. And so for me, I consistently asked for more opportunities in my internship. I wanted to be pushed. I wanted to be tested, and I spoke up if there were things that I didn't want to learn, or things that I tried and wasn't good at, and that I didn't want to do anymore. And that really, I think, was one of the reasons why I fell in love with it so much, was because it's a rare thing to go into a job and them ask you what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Mostly you go into a job and they have distinct, qualifications of what you're supposed to do, what you're going to be doing. Like, this is it, you're structured, it's rigid, you're staying within these lines. And I didn't get that, and I still don't have that. I'm kind of free to still explore and experience and learn, and I'm very grateful. So making sure that I can also translate that into my personal life has been super important for me. And so I think that whether you're really good at it in your personal life or really good at it in your work life, making sure that you work-life balance can balance both of those, but just know that at the end of the day, you've only got we only know for a fact that we've got one shot at this. Yeah. And so if you do spend a lot of your time just kind of wondering and hoping and waiting, but not doing, unfortunately it might pass you by, because you're the only one who can really take the reins on it, hoping that something crazy is going to happen and land in front of you. Sometimes you have to be the one to literally grab it out, cut it out, beg for it, scream for it, get it to where it is in your hands. And sometimes that's really messy, but at the end of the day, sometimes you have to go and be a little uncomfortable to get super comfortable.
No, definitely. Just, man, two things. I the whole peaking thing was so great. I like to think I've never had a peak. I've just always been consistently. It's which I think is better, because maybe I haven't been at this level, but I'm here, so when they come back down, I'm still on top.
I'm going.
Yeah, I'm still going. So great. No, I mean, yeah, you only got one shot at this, and just not to age myself, but my high school reunion was in May or June, and just really thinking about that, 'cause 10 years on paper, it's 10 years, but then my friend and I, homeboy Stefan, yeah, thank you, Stefan. We were together, and we went there, and just afterwards, we were we really started thinking 10 years, oh my gosh, we kind of looked at each other, can we remember any conversations we had 10 years ago? And then we were we can. And I started panicking and whatnot. It was just a horrible crisis. But the point being yes, you only have one shot at this. And just, first off, you're so damn well spoken. Jesus Christ. I'm all over here with my ums and uhs and likes. And you're just and
it took a lot of work. I'm not going to say that it was easy, and not to be super silly and nerdy, but playing D&D and being a game master or DM really did impact that. Not just because if you do stutter, maybe your player's going to be ha ha, she said it just really allows you to, I think it really helped me speak more eloquently.
I need to sit on a dungeon or a D&D thingy and really just see that. I still don't fully I can't comprehend. I don't understand what a dungeon master is, what storytelling character.
Oh, it's amazing.
I'm thinking it's like Monopoly board, roll a dice, and then.
Oh, it's still definitely rolling dice, of which I have way too many. But no, I mean, it's a beautiful way of storytelling. It's an obsessive way of storytelling, I think, for a DM. If you're somebody who does enjoy writing 200-page stories, and you're I have no outlet for this, actually producing this would be so unreasonable. Let me put it in front of 4 people for 6 months, and then over the course of those 6 months, they'll just live in this world. It's beautiful, and it's so easy. It's very simple to get into. I think on a starter level, very easy to get into.
Dang, okay. But my bad. I completely torpedoed your beautiful recommendation. We started.
No, I mean, any reason for me to talk about D&D is a good reason.
I love that. But yeah, no, advocating for yourself, it's really important. And yeah, you said as a woman, I'm not a woman, but you saying, I was quoting you saying that.
Yes.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. Guy speaks up for themselves. Oh, he's confident. He's a leader. Woman does she's fucking mean and rude.
Right. Yeah. You're overstepping. You're all of these different things. It's hard. It's very amazing. I have so many amazing women that work at Alford who paved the way for me, and have paved the way for so many others. And that again, like, is part of the reason why I wanted to work there.
Yeah.
So like my manager during my internship, Melanie, was so amazing in like setting the groundwork for like how to succeed and like how she succeeded. And then now my current manager, Shelly, has like continued to guide me and just like share so many amazing things, not just about her life, but just about the industry and how she's navigated it. And both of them, along with so many other women, freelancers or like full-time staff, truly have like done so much of the dirty work, because even in film in general, it's a very male-dominated space. And it's so nice to see, like, just to have that like support is very amazing as like a younger person going into it.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, damn, we're kind of expounding on this. My bad, y'all. But it, like, just no, the idea about like paving the way for someone that's so important, dude. Like, makes like those women you just mentioned, like, the idea, like, maybe I wonder if someone paved the way for them, and now they're able to probably, like, it's so like beautiful, and that's certainly what I want to do. And just, you don't know the impact you can have by just like creating something like that old 97 song or whatever. I don't think they wrote that song thinking some asshole named Aaron was gonna be like, this is amazing, and like, here we are. But just really makes me think about like creating film and whatnot. I think I've told you this before. I know I've told people, like, that's why I want to make stuff. There have been times like my late teens, early 20s where I just felt lost. I'd go to a movie theater and just see a movie that would like really move me, and it like blocked away my loneliness or whatever, just my bouts of like sadness, depression, isolation, whatever. And then I'd like to think that I'll do that someday, long after I'm gone. Maybe they'll see the 30th anniversary or the 50th anniversary of Denton, Texas, this movie, my first breakout hit, and some person, whatever gender they may be, they go to this like weird little art house movie theater. They're like, oh, I've heard of this guy, Aaron Garcia. I think he passed away like 10 years ago. They go and watch it, and they're like, they see themselves in the film. They see like, oh, this person who's going through similar things and whatnot, and you realize that you're not alone or whatever, by me or whoever else taking a chance on themselves and creating something. You can leave something that is kind of eternal. It's reminds me of another quote I love, to live in the hearts of others is to never die, similar to like with creating something, you never really go away. So, oh damn, getting emotional.
I know.
But okay.
I know, we got super deep here.
Yeah, my bad. Oh, I missed the Star Trek conversation.
Great, let's bring back, let's circle back.
Lordy. But yeah, cool. Thank you for that. Thank you for recommendations, and that it felt nice, having that unlock those feelings in me. So thank you. And cool. Well, those are our 6 recommendations. Yeah, I hope you enjoy them. We're gonna take a quick little break, and when we're back, we're gonna do a little work spotlight on Danielle's position a little more. And so stick around. You won't want to miss that. Okay. Boop. Yeah, that didn't text thing. It's gonna be insane.
So you're still working on the script right now?
Yeah, I'll finish this week. I could have finished last week, but I was like, I'm good. I was like doing it at a good pace. So
yeah. That's awesome. We died. So now welcome back to Conversations with Danielle. It truly has always been Conversations with Danielle. Now we're going to talk about Aaron.
It's a lot of like drill was starting to form, so I'm glad we cut. All right, cool. Yes. Hello, or welcome back, Connor. Welcome back, audience of Conversations with Aaron. Thank you for sticking around. Danielle, thank you for sticking around. And cool. Well, now I think we're going to highlight some of your work. I'm really excited for this. I think the first thing we're going to show the audience, we're going to watch a little sizzle reel of Alford.
Alford.
Ah, yes, Alford.
Alford.
Yes. All right. Well, before we get into this little sizzle reel, what can we expect from this little thing?
So this sizzle reel really, I think, shows off the best of what we do, and a little bit of everything. Again, this was made by one of my amazing coworkers, but I think it definitely kind of encapsulates like a very general idea of what we bring to every show.
All right, bet. Well, let's watch this little sizzle reel. Let's see. That's so cool.
I know.
you said a coworker made that?
Yeah.
Man, they did not have to go that hard on that music though. That
yeah.
is like so.
Oh.
Babe, that I assume that's the quality of Offer. That's what y'all can expect from Offer. That people will go that extra mile to make your stuff just cook all sorts of fucking.
I'm really so
good.
glad that you said that actually, because we call it the all for difference.
All for difference, nice.
And truly, the color that like we have, like I have a company color, you know, and it's burgundy, and so the whole thing is like we only hire people who are burgundy, and so who go that extra mile, who are creative and driven and selfless and caffeine addicted, just like, you know, people who really will go the extra mile for the vision to really come to life for the client, for the show. And we do everything. I mean, we do everything. And in that specific sizzle reel, some of my favorite clips were things that we projection mapped onto. So like the buildings that we like specifically, you cut out the sections of the building where you're projection mapping onto, and then you play the video, and so that it all like seamlessly blends together with the lighting. It's amazing.
It looks amazing too. And just quick aside, like I know that's not necessarily burgundy, but I know burgundy's like kind of red, right?
Yes. Burgundy. It's like
this whole time.
It's this whole time.
It was written.
It was ready to happen.
That's so great, dude. And like, tell me, when you kind of stepped into this, you know, because well, you said John kind of like helped you with this, right? And so this is me projecting my low self-esteem sometimes. When I see like you see this, like I mean, did it seem intimidating at all? Like just the quality of this is kind of like insane. Like I look at it, I'm like, oh my. Again, I'm gonna speak for myself. I feel like you'd see this, oh, that's cake. But then for me, I'm like, that is like really high quality stuff, man. I don't know. I'm kind of like nervous, like going this. Like, how was that like for you?
Oh, very not intimidating, but more like awestruck, I think. Some of the clients that we work with, you know, just to name a few. I mean, from the pictures that I gave you, Dollar General. We worked with NATO a few months back. We've worked with Twitch. All of these amazing companies, big companies, and you know, our whole thing is like, you know, some of these we do their shows every year, and how are we going to continue to elevate that show every year? You know, you don't always want the same thing. You know, technology is always rapidly improving and increasing. And so how do we stay relevant? It's LED. That's the answer.
It's always LED.
It's always LED. But you know, how can we continue to stay consistent and stay elevated? And genuinely, it's through the people more so than the technology. Anybody can have the technology, and you can get the technology from anybody. But it's, you know, how you use it, who is using it, and if it's offered, it's gonna be good.
Oh, guaranteed, because you're working there. That's so great. And could you describe, if you're able to, say it's a day of a show, could you describe like what a day in the life of Danielle working on a show is, kind of just to give us a little visual of you, like just like, oh my fucking, I'm so stressed.
Oh yes. So
you're like readily.
If it's the day of the show, then the day prior was probably like a 12-hour day, because you've got, if it's a big show, like a large show, general session, which I worked on one a month ago or so. It's a couple days of load-in, so loading in all of the equipment, setting up all of the equipment,
oh lordy,
and then making sure all the equipment's working properly. So you have a few days of that, and then you have a few days of rehearsals. And so if it's a multi-day show, you have to rehearse through every day, and what do the videos look like, and usually you don't have the content that you're supposed to have by the end of the show. Like by the show, the script will probably still be changing. So the content might not be the same, the script might not be the same, but just kind of teching through, going cue to cue, just making sure that everybody's kind of on the same page. Then a couple days later, you might get some rehearsals with some actual like talent who's going to be working, so going through with them. Usually they don't like what their script is like, so rewriting it, usually on the spot. Clients going back and forth, giving you new content, new material, saying they don't like this, they don't like that, they want this, they like that a lot, and still going through that again. Usually some technical issues. Maybe you have to get some more text. Sometimes you need to go run to the airport and grab something. And then finally you have the day of the show. And that is when specifically everybody is like on, like, I would say like the highest of a buzz, right? Like, because there are people coming in, it's getting loud, it's getting exciting, music's playing, everybody's on comms, like everybody is just like very focused, very ready. And then it just starts and you're kind of just in a zone, I would say. Like when I'm rehearsing, I can kind of still be a little like many-minded, like my thoughts are going everywhere. Might be thinking about what I'm going to eat that night. When the show is going, I feel like my mind is like completely blank. I am, especially if I'm working graphics or something that requires me to listen to very specific cues. It's very hard when you're on comms again, because you're listening to maybe like 20 people talking at the same time, but you need to hear that one person tell you when to cue, and then when you need to click, or you need to advance, or you need to click play. So my mind is blank, and I am just like waiting. And you do that for like however long the show is, maybe an hour, might be the whole day, and then you're done, and then immediately all of the energy gets drained from your body, and then you have to, you know, clear up your section, help out anybody else that needs help. I try to make sure that I've kind of asked everybody if they need help with their own department, and then you can finally go home and rest.
Nice. Wake up, do it all over again. Just curious, could you tell me about like your first show, like how that experience was? Yeah,
my first show that I worked on, I was simply shadowing. So I went and I shadowed the video department. I've kind of always been, you know, since I was coming out of school and I was already kind of in film, they kind of put me in video. It's what I've always been comfortable with. I was never an audio person. And so they kind of sat me in video, and I was like, yeah, this is nice. And so I shadowed, and that was like the first time I was truly meeting like people. I had been in the office and I had met people, but you know, some of the office people are not like freelancers, or not tech people. They're just like office support, or they're just salespeople, or they're just, you know, any type of person, marketing. So I was truly meeting like freelancers, tech, like all of those people, and I was like flooded with information. And it was like, I think a 3 or 4 day show, and I was just like so much information, so many hours. I hadn't done anything like that before. I had worked on a show previously to working at Alford, but it was only one time and it was one day. And so it was also like in a ballroom, like big ballroom. And you see like from the beginning where all the cases are being loaded in and the trusses are all on the ground, to like a couple hours later and there's like LED walls, and now there's suddenly like stuff everywhere and tables have been set up and little stations are set up and everybody has their computers and cables are everywhere and they're like all of like pathways. And like it can go from like an empty ballroom to like completely full in like that. It's amazing. It's really amazing.
That sounds freaking amazing, dude. And well, how many shows would you say you have under your belt?
I have, including the one that I did like with John's, I think I have 5 under my belt.
5, okay.
With Alford, I've done 4, and I'm about to do 2 more next month.
Okay, nice. Now that you know your experience, you have like these. Well, like, what are some things you know now that, like, going in, like, you know, when you're just, you know, oh, poor little Danielle, you know, shadowing and whatnot, what were some things that, like, you didn't even know at the time to, like, think of, like, you didn't even know what you didn't know sort of thing? Like, what are some things that you could, like, if you could, like, tell yourself a couple of months ago, like, prior to starting that, you feel like would have, like, been beneficial?
Stop being so nervous all the time.
Oh, yeah?
Especially just because I am so young, I was always worried about like messing up or like asking a wrong question or like saying something like stupid. And so then I was just like really shy and closed off. And then all of the other like freelancers were like, this girl just sits there and doesn't talk to anybody. And she's just like really quiet. And most people that I've met, you know, are super outgoing and like, even if they're not like extroverted, or just like, they all have worked together for a while, so they all kind of know each other. They're on shows like with each other like consistently, and so they all have a rapport. Like even if they don't see each other for like a few months, they like are like, oh my God, how's the family? Like, oh my God, did you just move? What other shows have you been working on? Like all these things, and I was like I was just so intimidated by being new that I didn't have any of that. And I guess like if I had known that I should just like have gone up to people and have talked to people like at the beginning, I would have automatically have felt so much more comfortable, because now I can just go up to a freelancer, not know them, and be like, hi, I'm working graphics, I'm Danielle, what's your name, what do you do, I want to learn about you. And people are just so open about just sharing about who they are. People are so funny, so hilarious, and just knowing that this is, even if it's a stressful situation, working with Alfred Techs is not a stressful environment. It might be a stressful situation with like the show and like it's coming up and like we've been rehearsing for 3 hours and everybody's exhausted, but the environment is still like lively and like still like safe to be in and comfortable. And if I had just known that it was going to be like that, I would not have been stressing out about saying hi to somebody and asking where the bathroom was.
Can I even go to the bathroom?
Can I even go to the bathroom?
Dude, that's actually like amazing. That's phenomenal to hear. Because I mean, I'm jealous at how well spoken you are. Because you don't do things like I just did, where I have to like repeat myself. Like just stressful situation, but not a stressful environment. Like that's so important. Again, our background in film or whatever. That's kind of the same thing. Like having that trust with people, like you said, like people being very funny and they can just like talk casually. That's so great. Because I mean, yeah, imagine if it was like a stressful environment also, like that would just like combust, it would be awful. So that's, again, I don't want to sound like, I'm, what's that word? Shilling? Like I'm like, like plugging offer, but like that's so great, that's so important. I'm just, again, I can't stress how happy I am for you that you're in a very nice and positive environment. Shout out Alfred. And okay, cool. So you would tell your younger self, your a couple of months ago younger self, like don't be nervous, and nice. And every show's different. Like what's kind of like a common thing like between each show, like for you that you like feel? I mean, like now that again you have like some experience and whatnot, are there aspects about it that you feel more comfortable? And if so, what are those? Like that have come with experience? Yeah,
I think I'm way more comfortable with owning my space. I used to be very like nervous, just even about like being in the space that I was in, just because I just wasn't used to it. Even just kind of like knowing how to set things up, right? Like knowing, and I'm still learning how to be an AV tech type of person, knowing the engineering of it is something I'm still learning, but knowing how to connect, like where your cables go, where to put them, how to set up your computers, where to get your equipment, like from the cases, where those cases are going to be, just kind of like show etiquette of kind of like being respectful, putting up your cases properly, kind of like setting up your space cleanly, just kind of learning like the starting of it, like the setting up was something I was always very nervous about, because I was like, I don't even know where to put my cables now. Where does my case go now that it's empty? But now, the more you do it, the more you know, and asking questions is not a bad thing. Something that's always staying the same is we've always got a show to run, and it's always going to run on that day. It's always going to happen at that time. It might not happen at the exact moment. We might be 15 minutes late because maybe something happened, or somebody's coming in late, or they're not ready yet. But the show is always going to happen on that day, around that time, and we've got to have it happen at that time.
That sounds so exciting. It sounds stressful, but so also very exciting. Very happy to hear that. And cool. Well, I mean, we touched on a bit. We watched a sizzle reel. Now you also have a highlight reel. Do you want to watch that really quick?
Yes.
All right. Show off this company even more. Let's see. Computer explodes.
Computer says no more.
All right. So yes, now we're gonna watch a highlight video. And then we'll cut to it. Bam. Woo. different person?
I believe it is a different person. There's all of our text.
You're not in that, are you?
No, I was not on this show. But this one happened about like a week or so ago.
Damn. So good. So good, my goodness. And we were, while I was playing, I kind of asked, so different person like put that together?
Yes, I believe
Dang.
this one was put together by my coworker Brant.
Shout
out to
out.
Brant and my marketing team. And yeah, this is from AMD, which is a show we did pretty recently. I believe, I don't know when this is from, when we're doing this right now. I believe this was about like a week or so ago.
Yes.
And yeah, just it was a pretty standard show in terms of like what we normally do. But it is not always often that we get permission to actually publicly show off the show. Sometimes
Conversations with Aaron exclusive.
exclusive. Sometimes it's hard to get content. So some stuff might be proprietary information that we're not allowed to show off, and so sometimes it's difficult to show off all the cool things that we do. And it's really, really cool when a client says, "Yes, you are allowed to show this off."
Please do.
And we got really lucky with this one because it was a great show.
Yeah, nice. A phenomenal show, if I had to say anything. Okay, so a little highlight reel. Now, the visuals that we saw, was there anything, because you do graphics, correct?
Yes.
Is there anything on that like highlight video that you could like point and be like, oh yes, that's something like I would have done, I would have helped with?
So I definitely feel like I saw, there's a bunch of different types of graphics. There's...
If you want to toggle through, that's fine.
Oh, yeah.
I'll just sort of like play it and then with no music.
Yeah.
So we can hear you.
So I definitely feel like there was some sort of, there's always going to be some sort of media server. And so something like Malumen, which is commonly used. I know that there was like this isn't necessarily graphics, but you see a switcher, so like an E3. That looks like a carbonite Ross switcher, which we have at UNT.
That's like an elevator.
That looks like an escalator.
I said that twice. You have elevators. Oh, jeez.
Oh my God,
see, that's why I don't work at Offering.
We gotta keep that in because you don't know the difference between your elevators and your
Good thing I'm an editor. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
okay, let me go back a little past the escalator.
Yeah, so that so obviously
so
that's a
confident.
few different LED screens, and so something with multiple different screens requires you to have some sort of media server so that you can show the same video on multiple different either resolutions or screen sizes or different walls. So something like this could be done on Malumen, which is not something that I have used yet, but I'm trying to learn more about it, which is, it's very interesting and I think really cool. And then obviously there's something like your standard PowerPoint or Keynote, which is essential in the corporate general session sphere. But yeah, that's just prompter.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so just a little bit of everything that gets put together by our amazing techs and team. They're so good at what they do, and I've worked with some of those guys personally, and truly some of the smartest people I've ever met.
Dang, bro. I'm sure they'd say the same about you too, so it's all good.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe
she
one
likes Star
day.
Trek.
We're learning. We learn every day.
It's so great, dude. And so it's like an internship right now, job?
Yeah, so I interned. Technically, the internship that I applied for was through the parent company, Freeman, which is also a media services company. But they do like exhibits, like big trade shows and stuff like that. They do other things, but we kind of do like the specialized, like smaller, like really complex shows. And then they kind of focus on like large events. But I got the internship through them, and I was the only intern selected for Alford, which was super fun because I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. But I was also like a part of a group of 30 interns, and they all got to like be friends with each other and make all these memories and hang out, and then there was me. But honestly, like, I don't regret it. I had a great time, and I still, when I got to see them, it was super cool to kind of see what they've been working on. They would ask me what I've been working on. We all had different experiences to share. And now some of them, I think, got jobs at Freeman too, which is super cool to see kind of all of us kind of grow together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I interned there for 10 weeks, and then after my 10 weeks were up, I was offered to stay on full time, and I eagerly said yes. And so yeah, I've been working full time with them ever since.
Dude, like legit, like congratulations. That is impressive. Yeah. I'm very happy for you. Okay, great. And so, you know, last couple of questions, start wrapping up. So you're doing graphics right now. What do you have? I don't want to like be. Well, what's next for you? Like, what are like, but you know, do you give that any thought? Like, oh, you know, I'm enjoying this position. Maybe you'd like to like try something else. Like, has your mind like wandered that in that realm at all?
Yeah, so I do. I feel like I genuinely do a little bit of everything. When it comes to show site, I feel comfortable in graphics, but I still have not even like reached the surface of like what that means. There's so many different, like Malumen, for example. I still haven't used it yet. I'm still learning about it. I would hope to continue to grow and feel more comfortable, and then maybe try working that at some point. So on show site, I still feel very comfortable in graphics, and have done will do other roles in the future. So my next two kind of roles will be more of like a production assistant and like an AV tech kind of role. So it will be different from what I was doing in the past, but I am very excited about that because it's seeing a different side of the show than what I've gotten to see from my little desk. So I'm very excited about that. As far as like other things go, when I'm working in the office and I work with the marketing team, we've really been working on launching our Alfred Educates program. So we try to do a lot of internal and external education. So like at our office, we do like a little lunch and learn sessions. We call them food for thoughts, and we essentially get somebody who's like really senior and tenured in Alfred to kind of come in and talk about something that they know very well and have a lot of experience with, whether it be like video, audio, lighting, etc. And then anybody from freelancers to ops workers to support staff gets to come in, we feed them, and then they get to learn a little bit about something that they might not know about at all, might just need a little more training on. And so we do that. We try to do that a couple times a month. And then we're also going to try to start an internship program soon, like our own internship program, just Alfred. So I'm trying to help out with building that up a little bit, as well as hopefully launching a scholarship program soon.
Dang, bro, you're cooking. Jeez.
We're cooking.
This feels like, again, like for our like sort of like archival like purposes, we watch like 5-10 years from now, like, oh yeah, that's when, you know, they were starting all this stuff, and now it's like this huge enterprise.
Right.
A huge Star Trek enterprise. Wait.
Yes, that's correct.
Was that a movie or was that a show?
Enterprise?
Yeah.
It's a show.
It's a show. Oh. Damn, always comes back to Star
It's also
Trek.
the name of the ship, but they did make a show that was called Enterprise.
Oh. The William Shatner ship is called Enterprise?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And Next Generation.
Oh, it's always oh, my bad.
It's not always Enterprise, but it was a lot.
Yeah, okay, my bad.
And then in Deep Space Nine, they weren't even on a ship, but that's besides the point.
Huh. Interesting. But
it always has to come back to Star Trek.
Exactly, bro. That's what they did. Next episode idea, I'm going to just start talking about Star Trek randomly. The guests. Like,
I'll come back.
Yeah, exactly. No, you'll come back. I won't.
Yeah, I'll come back.
Yeah, the Star Trek show. Well, awesome, dude. Really great. And just while you're talking, just kind of like looking at these pictures, just like how much has changed in just a couple of months. Like now you got this like full-on career. Just amazing how things, you know, who knows where the road goes, like that song says.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Well, thank you so much. I mean, that was phenomenal to like catch up and like see what you're doing. You know, I'm very happy for you, as is the audience, I'm almost certain. And well, I think that's going to kind of wrap it up. Would you like to like make any closing comments on Alfred? I was about to say Alfred.
Yeah.
Elevator Alfred.
Yeah. Not correct. Yeah. No, I'm very grateful for this opportunity. It's hard coming out of college and everybody tells you that as long as you get a degree, you'll be fine. And because that's how it was when they were in school, and now it doesn't always seem to be the case anymore. It's like really hard to find a job, especially in media, and it's not one of those things where they tell you, oh yeah, well now you know how to point a camera, so you're gonna be able to make it in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And it like very rarely works out that way, whether you want it to or not. And so I feel very lucky that I can still work in media, still be creative, and do it for my work. Very, very lucky. I do hope in the future that I can still kind of work in film. I want to go back to writing at some point, even just on the side. I want to write. I want to like submit them online to like different like script competitions and stuff like that. But that's, you know, once I'm more settled, I think I'm going to ease back into it. But truly I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm excited to keep learning. And like you said, like thinking about like in 5 years from now, like how I'm going to look back and laugh at just like the things that I was like scared to ask or like didn't know how to do or like was worried about doing. And I'm just going to laugh.
Amen. Two things. First thing, you know, again, just me, your future fan base, you know, bigger than the one that you already have, is going to look back like, oh, she's talking about possibly getting back into writing. She didn't even know she was eventually going to win like the Pulitzer Prize for this novel about a coffee shop type thing. That was low-key kind of a riff on that book that you're talking.
A little bit.
No, cool. And the second thing, I just kind of want to like ask you, just this Danielle versus the one now. What would you have told this Danielle? What's different from her to you?
Geez.
So I know, like, obviously that's recent, but at the same time, like...
It does genuinely feel different, though. I was in a very different spot in my life when I was even taking those photos. I was very, not to get, like, emotional, but, like, I was very, like, nervous and stressed out and sad at the end of my school year. I had been through not a heartbreak of love, but a heartbreak of friendship. And even though it needed to happen, it was sad, and I was mourning the loss of, sometimes losing friends is harder. And I was mourning that loss and overthinking everything and, blaming myself for a lot of things. And then not only was I like grieving the loss of a friendship, I was grieving the loss of graduating and the loss of school and like that stability. And I was super nervous about like everything that was coming my way, and it all felt like it was happening so fast and I had no time to prepare. And I spent so much time worrying about what it was instead of just enjoying what it was. And it's okay to like grieve, it's okay to worry, but I don't focus on that anymore. And I focus on the people that I do have in my life, and I focus on, the opportunities that I have in my life right now. And everything that happened, it happened for a reason. And I can still look back on it, and I now think about the good times instead of the bad times.
Yeah, that's very important.
But now I wish that she had known that it was like, yes, it was the end of something, but it was just the end of the beginning.
Yeah. Cue that song, "In the Beginning"
by Joe. Yeah.
Oh, is it just called Joe?
Oh,
like, is that how you say the?
Yeah.
Oh, I've been saying the Joe.
Oh, yeah.
It's like DJ. Oh.
He's such a good artist, genuinely. And you know that he was like Steve from Stranger Things. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, some people didn't know that, and I was like, I didn't even know when I started listening to his music a couple of years ago for like some of his older stuff. I didn't even know that it was him. And now he's like kind of more blown up, and I am really happy about that.
Thanks, shout out. Man, that is such a great song.
It's such a good song.
Man, well, very beautiful, dude. And like, just talking about that. Thank you for, being willing to be vulnerable. I really appreciate that. The audiences, that's amazing. And well, dude, can't stress enough, 1 million, you're amazing. On to like continuously, great and phenomenal things. We all can't wait to see what you do. It's going to be great. And yeah, well, I think that'll do it. Thank you so much. You want to say bye to the audience. Cool. Closing
Bye-bye,
comments.
bye-bye, bye-bye. Thank you, Aaron, for having me.
Yeah.
It was so nice to work with you before. I don't think this is the last time. And I know that you are also going to do so amazing.
Thanks, bro. We'll check back in like 5 years or whatever. I comment on this YouTube video. Nope, same thing.
Nope, we are doing the same thing that we were doing before. We are just older.
Exactly. Still got my lavender tie and whatnot. But cool. Well, yeah. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, audience, for watching. And yeah, we'll see y'all next time. Bye. Woo. Show the video. Yeah, awesome.